So, in this episode, I want to talk about why your work isn't working. So, mainly, we're going to be talking today about marketing as a photographer. You feel like you are doing everything on the marketing front, and yet you're getting nothing. You're like, I am posting, I am working with planners, I am networking myself, I am attending events, I am trying out new platforms, I am maybe even running ads, but I'm not getting inquiries. I'm not getting bookings. It feels like there's no engagement with all the marketing that I'm doing. And you just feel like you're floundering, right? And I'm sure there's some of you who are listening to this right now who are like, yes, that is exactly where I'm at right now, Nate. What is going on? Like, I feel like I'm losing it. I feel like I'm not doing anything right because nothing's actually reaping a result. So, the whole point of this episode here today is to give you an informed, level headed perspective about where you are at right now so that you don't find yourself in a place where you are spiraling and losing heart. And worst of all, just giving up, just flat out giving up, right? Now, there is so much nuance to this topic. And there's also so many different specific people that I could be talking to in this. So you kind of have to go through this with a fine tooth comb and say, okay, where am I at in what Nathan is saying to me today, right? But stick with me. I'm going to try to break this down as easily as possible for you so that that's not a hard thing for you to do. And I truly believe that this type of an episode, just as more of an encouragement, like every photographer or every business owner for that matter, needs to hear what we're going to talk about today. So let's just start off with this, okay? I saw this graphic recently, and what this graphic basically depicted was it showed this low, slightly tilted upward line graph. Okay. And then it kept on going and kept on going, kept on going. And right at the end of where the graph kind of cuts off, there's this huge upward sloping line that's like, and it goes right upwards. And it's like this suddenly aggressive line, and then right before that line going upwards, there's like a little arrow pointing at it that says, you are here. Okay. You are at the part of that upward sloping line where it hasn't hit that skyrocket moment yet. It's just like slowly, slowly, slowly going. Okay. And I actually, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I made that type of a graphic, the thumbnail for this video, because that visual is going to be so important for what we're talking about here today. So let me go and tell you a little bit about a part of my story as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Well, back when I was in my first couple years as a photographer, there was, if you know anything about my story, a lot of my story begins with the fact that I did not know almost anything about how to run a business. And I also didn't know about marketing, which is so ironic because that's what I went to college for. But that's neither here nor there for this episode. But what's crazy is when I started probably like 2 to 3 years deep in running my own business, learning business, investing in my business, marketing myself from an informed place, and implementing the things that I was actually learning about business, I still remember this period where I was absorbing all of these new things. I was absorbing all of these new learnings and growths, or I should say, these growth resources or these growth directions or these tools, right, that I was implementing, where I wasn't seeing anything. I was implementing all of the tools, doing all of the things, absorbing all of the philosophies, but I still wasn't really seeing anything yet because I was doing so much that was brand new to me. It was brand new to my business. I was like baby fresh with all of these things. Okay. I was seeing maybe minimal changes, but it was nothing too crazy. It was nothing to like really, really excite me. Okay. So during this time as well, I will just tell you, while I was investing, while I was implementing, I just wanted to give up so many times because I thought, well, if I'm learning all this and I'm doing all these things that they should be right, why aren't they changing my business on a dime overnight? Why isn't the floodgates of inquiries coming in? Like, why isn't everything just boom, everything changes overnight because I learned one new trick, right? Or one new philosophy. It would be situations where like I raise my prices. Prices didn't get booked to the new price point. Ugh. or I got new inquiries, but the inquiries didn't take the next step and they didn't actually get on a call with me and they certainly didn't book with me. Or I posted maybe a new type of content that like I was like trying a new type of content and people didn't react the way I wanted to. In fact, this actually comes into play kind of like a little subplot here. Specifically when I started doing reels and I started doing short form video even like on TikTok, I remember there was this period where I was posting and posting and posting for months and months and months, like probably like 6 months, okay? It was tons of new reels and I was posting them like almost once every single day. And during this time, it was when Reels had kind of first came out, when TikTok had kind of first came out. And I had been watching so many people, whether it was in my space or different spaces like of the industry or different industries. I'd watched so many people use short form video and Reels and TikToks to really blow up their brand in a good way. And I was thinking to myself as I'm watching them, I'm like, I can do this. I can do video. I think I'd be good at that. So I'm going to get into it. There was this period, and a lot of you probably never even followed me for that part of my journey, or even if you did, you didn't remember it being a long time because you weren't in it. I was the one living it, right? But there was this period where I was putting in all of this work and posting all these reels and making all this content, right? And it wasn't changing anything for me. It wasn't really moving the needle that much. It was like, I got a couple of views here and there. Like my moms and aunts and some random friends of mine were like commenting, like, oh, this is such great stuff. But like, that's about it. And I remember there was a specific conversation that I had with my wife, Kayla, at the time. I remember exactly where we were. I was sitting on our bed in our bedroom in our first apartment that we had as a married couple. And I was just sitting there and I was like, babe, I was like, if this doesn't turn around soon, like if these reels don't start changing things and actually bringing in like more business and whatever have you, uh, I feel like I'm gonna have to give this up. Like I don't know if this is worth it. Like this almost just feels silly at this point. I just feel like I feel like I'm posting for like my community and like the people that already know me, and it's not really getting any further out than, and I was like, maybe I'm actually not good at this. Like maybe I should give this up. So funny because I remember, I mean, it wasn't funny to me at the time, but it's funny in retrospect. I remember maybe a month or so later, or maybe it was like 2 months later, I had my first reel. And by the way, this was not the first reel that I posted. I'm saying it was the first reel that had actually done something that went viral out of nowhere. And by the way, this was like weeks after I'd even posted that reel. It might have even been months after I posted that reel. Um, then it went viral and then it got like millions of views thereafter. But like it took so long to get there. And I'll tell you this, that was a huge turning point in, I'd say at least in my Instagram growth by far, because I had only had like 1,000 followers ish up to that point. And so it was this huge turning point. But for so long, like, I mean, I'm telling you, like I'd been doing this for like months and months and months. And I was like, babe, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I just don't know if this is worth it. And then a couple months later or a couple weeks later, whatever it was like takes off, right? So let me spiral back to my business growth as a whole. Even that, as I look at that, like it probably wasn't until like a year or more, maybe I think it might have been a year or two after I'd really started into my business absorption of educating myself, right? And my learning journey and reading the books and hiring the coaches and all the different things that I was doing, that I had actually hit my first 6 figures. Okay. And I'll tell you this, many times until then, I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to give it up. I actually wanted to start something different because I was like, there's nothing here. And actually, many times I did start something different and it just distracted me. And those things came to nothing because I was like, well, I should start this other business and I should do this other thing. And I tried that and it just got in the way. It stalled my growth, if anything. And I'm going to give you another example. When I started getting into education, like you guys know me as like a business coach now, and that's the main thing of what I do is business coaching and education. And that's a whole separate business too. And even after I had I'll tell you this, even after, and I tell this to anybody wanting to get an education as well, or wanting to like pivot or whatever have you, into being a coach of any sort. After I had grown even a following, maybe it was like 15,000 people, or then like 30,000 people, like in my following count, or then even 50,000 people. And I had tons of engagement. I had tons of views at that point, etc. Things were like rapidly growing. The actual products that I was putting out, like the ways that I actually could monetize all that engagement and all that following, like the stuff happening behind the scenes that no one saw. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can tell you this. I was significantly underperforming what I thought I should be making at that point in my career. Like the money that I was making was pretty much nothing I could live on fully. And even like if I go back to the time, from the time when I'd start when from the time when I had started educating, it was like a probably a 2 to 3 mark. It's hard to remember exactly that time period, but I know it was like a minimum of 2 years until things actually went really, really well. And until actually I had like this like 500 plus person waiting list for my coaching program out of nowhere. And that it was like my coaching, my first time I launched my coaching program is sold out in like a day and a half. It was wild, right? But like I'm telling you right now, it took me years to get there, years of what felt like underperform, well, not even what felt like, it was underperforming. It was really bad. Like there were some launches that I'd done, and this was before I launched like a coaching program, but like of little products that I did, where I genuinely was like, I think I'm gonna probably make like maybe $50,000 on this launch. And I made like $1,500, like one comma 500. Okay. And I was like devastated. Okay. But that's the reality of so much in business. It's not that I was actually doing anything wrong. I just hadn't given it the time that it needed. It took me years of seeing crappy results and thinking to myself, I don't know if this is going to come to anything, but I hope so, before actually things came to anything. So, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this. I'm telling you my stories because I believe some of you, and I know some, I mean, I talk to many of you who are in the thick of that waiting period right now. You're in the slugging it out period right now. You're on that slow upward slope of the graph that I was telling you about. And you're maybe about to hit that moment where everything goes and skyrockets, but you haven't seen it yet. And you feel like you're doing everything and you're getting nothing. And you're wondering, like, what is wrong with what I am doing? And so that's why today I want to help you understand, why it's taking so long. And I also want to help encourage you to just stick with it. But first, as almost like a disclaimer of this entire episode, we do have to, I would not be a good advisor, coach, counselor to you if we did not go back to, okay, what are you doing in the first place? What is the path you're on? Because I as someone on this podcast, like I don't know what you specifically listening to this episode, I don't know specifically what path you're on, what your specific approach is, who you're learning from, if anybody at all, or what you're doing, right? I don't know if the path you're on is sound or credible or proven. Seriously, I don't. And just to be real with you, that's like why I have a coaching program myself, because I want to, for those who trust me, give them that. I want to give them that proven path, because there's nothing worse than being in that lower slope of that graph before you skyrocket upwards. And yet you don't know if you're headed to that skyrocket. You don't know if you're headed to the right place at all. And that's where I was before I started investing in education and coaching myself. And like I didn't, just so you know, just so everybody knows, I did not get to where I am at by myself. I did not get here by myself. I think there's a lot of maybe coaches or educators out there who kind of like want to make you believe that like, oh, they never had a coach themselves, or like everything that they learned like by themselves. That is not true. I'm telling you right now, that is not true. And that's definitely not true for me. It would have taken me so much longer to reach where I am today, if I'd even reach where I am today at all, if I didn't invest in people who had gone before me to help me get there, help me get here. Okay. Like experience is great. Your own personal experiences are great, right? Just kind of like, figuring out as you go, like that's fine. That's great. That's a great trainer, that's a great educator. But actual education and someone else's experience saves you so much time and so much guesswork. And by the way, I don't think it's just one thing. Like even it's not just one coaching program, even though like that's my goal as a coach is always to have my coaching program be for the person who joins it like their one-stop shop. Like, hey, if you just follow this, and I believe that can do that. But also think it's like what you learn from books that you read. And I mean, even in my coaching program, that's why I give people so many books. And by the way, I don't mean this to be like a pitch for my coaching program. Like what this is whether you're not you join my coaching program. Like even if you don't, that's your own prerogative. But I do, no matter what, I want you to learn from people who have done things that you want to do, people that have gone ahead of you, people you look up to in the industry. Listening to podcasts like this. Yes, trial and error. And it's a dance of all of these things. My whole point here, though, is don't go it alone. Do not guess. That is often a hopeless case in and of itself. Like that's when I'd say, okay, like you may be hopeless if you're just trying to go it alone. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know if I'd say hopeless, but that's hard. It's hard enough to be in the building phase of your business and not seeing the growth quite yet. Like that, it's hard enough. It'll come either way. Like those hardships will come either way. Please don't make it harder, like 10 times harder by not knowing that where you're headed is even right at all. Okay. So I'll just leave you with that. Only you can answer where you are at on that journey if you are getting help from people. All I will just say is like, do not go it alone. Whether I can help you or someone else, people have already done what you want to do. I promise you that. Like, there's already someone who's done it. I love you enough to tell you that, and don't have this ego to say, "Well, I am the only one that can figure this out on my own. I'm the only one that blah blah blah." Like, trust me, someone's already done what you want to do, or something very similar to what you want to do. Use them. Use them. It's like you're climbing. It's like metaphorically, you're climbing a mountain and someone as you're going up, someone comes on their way down. Like if you've ever like done like a mountain trail or something like that, and there's always people coming down, right? And you always ask people like, hey, like how's the view or whatever have you. It's kind of like you're going up the mountain almost blindly, not knowing where to go, and someone on their way down comes up to you and says, hey, I already made it to the top, can I help point you in the right direction, like the easiest way up? And you look at them and you're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to figure it out on my own. Like I'll just figure it out. Don't be that person, right? Do not be that person. Take the help. It is so unnecessary, truly unnecessary to go this stuff alone. Okay. So all of that said, if you are on the right track, and obviously we've established that's a big if, but if you are on the right track, you are investing in people who are helping you get there, and you believe in what they're teaching you, and you're reading the books, and I mean, you're listening to this podcast. And so that's a great first step. Amazing. I think many of you are on the right track. And that's why I'm even going further into this episode, because I think a lot of you are on the right track. You're asking for help. You're taking the help. You're implementing that help. You're taking someone's direction up the mountain. Here's why still, even after all of that, you can't see the view yet at the top of the mountain, even though you might be on exactly the right path. Here's the thing. Marketing is slow burn. It is slow burn. It takes time. A lot of things in business take time, but I would say, especially if you're on that, like, I need more inquiries, I need more bookings, I need more people to see what I'm doing, I need more more clients. Marketing is what brings those in. And you guys, it's slow burn, and it's especially slow burn for photographers. You even look at money psychology. So let's just go back to the money psychology of what you sell. If you are a photographer, or especially if you're a wedding photographer, it means that you are most likely selling multi-thousand-dollar price points for your services, right? You're charging 3,000 or 5,000 or maybe up to upwards of like 10,000 for your product, for your thing. I'm telling you right now, these are high ticket products, high ticket services. So there's a difference between a high ticket product and a low ticket product. You get an ad, let's say for I don't know, $70 pair of jeans or a $30 water bottle or belt. Let's go back with the clothing example. You can make a purchase decision on those type of items in like a matter of days, in a matter of hours, or even just on a whim. You see the ad, you click into it, and you're like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm buying it now. You do that sometimes, right? And at that most, it might take you days to get to that point where you're ready to actually buy. That is not the case almost ever with a photographer's services, okay? Like, photography is positioned at a premium price. It is high ticket. It's also high stakes because these are times of people's life that they can never get back. Very, very intimate moments of their life, very emotional moments of their life. So it's very high stakes. All of this means that there's more friction between people hearing about you and people wanting to actually give you their money. Okay. There's more friction between those two points. So that means people have to sit with you longer. They have to get to know you longer. They have to think about it longer. They have to build trust with you, and that takes longer. Here's the real. Sometimes that takes a minimum of weeks. I'd say more likely it's going to take months and even sometimes years for them to get to the place where they're ready to trust you with their money and their moments of their life. Rarely would that ever just take days, a matter of hours or a whim. Guys, almost never is it going to take that short of a time. You add to it that these people have to be in the stage of life where they even need a photographer in the first place, right? Like you've got to get someone when they are, let's say your wedding photographer, they have to be engaged, right? Someone could love you to death and be like, I want, and in fact, I just had a bride this week, and I'm doing her wedding this fall, and she's like, Nate, like from the moment we first met, I knew that I wanted you to be my wedding photographer. You guys, when we first met, this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and she was single. Okay. Like, how, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is how long it takes for someone who's like a absolute brand apologist for me, or somebody who's like a huge fan of my work, to actually even need me. It's not that she wouldn't have hired me before. It's like she didn't need me before, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the name of the game sometimes, right? Or let's say you are a newborn photographer. You guys, your client has to have a newborn, right? That we don't know where they're at in their season of life, but we do know they need to have a newborn in order to hire you for newborn services, photography services, right? Or the family photographer, you have to get people where they even want family photos. They even have a moment for family photos. Maybe it's the holidays coming around that triggers that. I don't know. Or a senior, the senior has to be a senior in high school to actually hire you if you're a senior photographer, right? So all of this saying, do not compare your thing you're selling, your multi-thousand-dollar product, your multi-hundred-dollar product, trying to get people at a specific period of their life. Don't compare that to a pair of jeans online that people can buy on a whim. No, like you don't post something to your feed on Monday and then have like Jane Doe, some bride, like book you on Tuesday morning. Almost never does that happen. And by the way, I would even say, I don't even think that's the goal. The goal is you post to your feed, let's say in January, and then you post again more in February, and then you keep posting in March and April through May. then some random bride or groom sees it because you're still posting and posting and you're getting traction. And then they follow you right around like July. And then you keep posting in August, keep posting in September, keep posting in October. And then finally in November, woohoo, they get engaged and they finally get engaged. But do they reach out to you? Nope, not yet. So you keep posting November, December. Finally, by late January, they're like, we should really book a photographer for our wedding. That's when they reach out to you. That's when they book you. Okay. It does not mean that back a year ago in January, you were doing anything wrong. That doesn't mean that right now in July or whenever you're listening to this, that you're doing anything wrong. It could mean you're doing everything right. It's just that it hasn't paid off yet, right? It works the same way when someone refers you. It works the same way when you start working with vendor connections, when you are new to a brand new location. Oh my gosh, that takes time. When you're getting into a new niche, when you're posting on a brand new platform like TikTok or somewhere that you've never posted before, when you are trying out a new type of content like I was with Reels, when you raise your pricing. I've been there. You raise your pricing and you're like, no one's booking these new prices. Or when you switch up your branding and you redo your website. You guys, this stuff takes time. Takes time to actually reap the result. And I hear people say, like all the time, I wish I had $1 for every time I heard this. Nate, I'm doing everything, but I'm seeing nothing. And it's so interesting because a lot of times my first question to people is always, okay, so for how long? How long have you been doing all of these things? Because I just want to know. And they'll be oftentimes they'll be like, well, I mean for the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, 2 weeks? 2 weeks? That is not enough time. Like you haven't even given yourself enough chances, enough opportunity, enough time in the first place. Like you just started watering your plant, my friend. It needs time to grow. You could have a plant that is growing in all the perfect soil. You're watering it exactly the right amount of water, perfect fertilizer, perfect amount of sunlight, perfect temperature. All of the perfect conditions in the world will not make an acorn become a red oak tree overnight. Nope. It's interesting. I'm learning this as I'm like planting trees in my backyard. I'm like, trees take so long to grow, but that like we love trees. Trees are one of the most beautiful parts of this world God has given to us, but they take so long to grow. And it's this metaphor for everything I think we do in our lives that is like worth something. And I think back to that, like, is it worth something? I don't think you should want to have this rapid growth that's almost like too fast that it feels cheap, if that makes any sense. Because I'll tell you this, as I've been an entrepreneur for quite some years now, I have seen many cheap businesses rise quick and fall just as quick. It's like they microwaved their marketing. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for a microwave of your marketing, kind of like, okay, we're going to force the results for a short period of time. But I always tell people in the background, you should still be having this, like what I call a crock-pot marketing. I'm mixing my metaphors just horrendously here, but just bear with me. Crock-pot marketing, it's the slow burn, right? Like, you know the difference between a microwave dinner and a crock-pot dinner, or a microwave dinner and an oven dinner. The oven dinner always tastes so much better. It stays warm for so much longer. The flavor's richer. You microwave something, it stays warm for like 5-10 minutes, if that, right? This is gross. It feels like rubbery, right? And so it's just like that when it comes to marketing. I really do believe. And part of this, I believe, is because you have to build a know, like, and trust factor with your clients. That's how you crockpot your marketing. When I say know, like, and trust, when you build exposure to people and you're first showing up in people's feeds, or you're first showing up in people's ears because they're getting referrals about you, you're building know, right? They know about you. They're first finding out about you. They're knowing about you. And then when you keep showing up for them, they keep hearing about you, whatever have you, man, they start to like you because they start liking what they see. They start liking what they hear. Where the money making part comes in is when people begin to trust you, especially at the price points you're asking. When they trust you is when they're ready to give over their hard earned dollars to you. They've seen so much, they know you so well. That's when they're ready to pay for what you offer. That's when they're ready to give their non do over moments of their life and put them in your hands. So if you're still in July, you could be thinking, I'm getting nothing, Nate. Like, what am I doing? What I'm doing is wrong. It must be wrong because I'm not getting any results, right? I've been doing it for 2 weeks, right? No, what you're doing could be exactly right. You could have even been doing it for 2 months and it could still be exactly right. Like, again, I don't know. I can't promise, but it could be completely right. And yet, you could still see no results. Yet. Yet, emphasis on the word yet, but you got to stick with it. I can't tell you how many times as a coach I've seen this happen. So many photographers they will like take my direction, especially if it's coming from like zero inquiries, and they do all the things maybe I'm telling them to do. And again, they're at like zero inquiries, and they get scared when a couple weeks go by and nothing happens. And I'm like, stick with it, keep going. They get some smaller results. I say, stick with it. They keep going. They get a couple few more results. I say, stick with it. And then it's so weird. I wish I could write down every time this happens because they stick with it. And then over time, I don't know, something clicks. And it feels like all the different parts in motion come together at once, and it's like the floodgates open out of nowhere. It feels like it's out of nowhere, but it's not out of nowhere. That's the whole point. It's all those deposits, all those changes you made to your business and marketing finally paying off. And it sounds like it's this magical experience of like, Nate, is it really that everything comes together at once magically? No, but honestly, it feels like it sometimes. Okay. So stick with it. If you don't stick with it, you don't get to see those results that happen because of all those deposits you put in. And yes, there are certain people that they don't take those many months, right? They can flip on a dime. They can take something, change it for 2 weeks, and boom, they get the results, whatever have you. But that's oftentimes, you guys, because that type of person already had something going in the first place. You can't compare your zero inquiries to someone else's like 15 inquiries a month, right? They already had something going and they were just missing a piece. Like, you go back to the mountain example, some people are at the bottom of the mountain when they first start learning, when they first start implementing the right path, and they need the whole map to get to the top of the mountain. It's going to take them a while to see that beautiful view at the top. Other people, there are people who they're so close to the top of the mountain already. They've just been wandering around on mile 9 of 10 for like the past like year or two, going in circles over and over again. And they just need some guide saying, hey, take this little pathway just beyond this bush, and the top of the mountain is just around the corner, and boom, they hit the top, right? So you can't compare yourself to that person. Or maybe you are that person who've been wandering around on mile 9 of 10, and you just need that person to say, hey, take this path and let's go, right? I don't know. No matter what, my whole point here is to encourage you. If you are struggling and you feel like I'm doing everything right, but I'm getting nothing, please stick with it, my friend, because most people give up at this point, and that is why they never see the result. I'm going to close with a story. This is one of my favorite stories in business. It's called Three Feet from Gold. And I read it from this book a while back. And you probably have heard of the California gold rush, right? People back in the day like would go to California because there was like, they strike gold and the mining and whatever have you. Anyways, there's a story, and it's kind of like debated whether this is like a true story or not, but at least it's a parable. And there's this guy whose name back then was R.U. Darby. And he worked for his uncle at the time. Okay. And his uncle purchased land in Colorado. And he purchased this land in Colorado because he wanted to dig for gold there. I think he'd been tipped off that, like, hey, this is a good piece of land to dig. And so his uncle dug for a while and he found some ore. And then he went back to the east, which was where his home was in Maryland, to raise money for proper machinery to go back to Colorado and mine that properly. Because he's like, oh man, like if we get this gold, like I got to be ready. And by the way, when they dig for gold and they find ore, that usually means that they've found some sort of rock with gold deposits running through it. So ore was a really good sign. Okay. Anyways, so Darby's uncle, then he's in Maryland. He's like raising funds. He raises enough funds to get the machinery, brings it all back to Colorado. But once he gets back to Colorado, they lost that vein of gold ore that they had found before. And they keep digging and they're like, wait, we can't find it. Where is it? Where is it? What in the world? What happened? They can't find anything. Nothing. They keep at it, but nothing, over and over again, until the point where Darby's uncle's like, I'm done here. I'm sick of this. I give up. Like this, there's nothing here. This is empty land. I don't know, but I'm done. I'm done. And so he actually sold all of his machinery and all the stuff, and I think the land as well, to basically, it's called junk man, just like kind of a nobody for just a few $100s. And so this junk man takes over the land, the equipment, all that. But he calls up a mining engineer. Remember this, because the mining engineer is the expert, right? He called in the expert, someone who had done this before. So this engineer comes in at the hire of the junk man, and he runs some basic calculations and said, hey, you're good, dude. The gold vein, it just shifted, but it only shifted 3 feet away from where Darby's uncle had stopped from digging. So if you shift 3 feet and you start digging here, and you're good to go, you hit gold. So the junk man followed the mining engineer's advice. Boom. 3 feet away from where Darby's uncle was digging, he struck one of the richest gold deposits in Colorado. But Darby's uncle never got to see it. Why? Because he gave up. He also didn't ask for help. Okay? So my message to you is, don't give up. Think of this. You could be 3 feet from gold. That's it. What a shame to have you give up now. And by the way, most people will. Most people will do what Darby's uncle did and be like, I'm done. I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. This is a waste of my time. I'm out. But that is what separates you from most people if you stick with it. That is what will give you the results that no one else sticks around long enough to see. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Love chatting with you guys. Share this if this encouraged you today. And remember, stick with it. 3 feet from gold, my friend. I'll see you next time.